The latest generation of consoles have had a rough time making a case for their existence. There's few, if any, console exclusives, and nearly every game that's playable on the PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X is also playable on the last gen of systems or PC. Now personally I enjoy this. That means I get to play games like the Medium without shelling out $500 for an Xbox. Touted as one of the new games that fully leverages the insane hardware of the Series X, the Medium is a horror game that takes homages from the classics. Fixed camera angles, wonky controls, basic item finding puzzles, monsters, it's all here. On top of that, your character can sense the spirit realm, meaning the game is constantly rendering two versions of the same game world that you can transfer between. Wow. Much processing, very hardware. But just because a game needs a thermonuclear generator to run at 4K 60 FPS, does that mean it's good? So is the Medium all flash and no substance? Or does it deliver on the gameplay as well? Let's discuss. Now before we get into the rest of the review, quick reminder to please leave a comment on the video. I appreciate you guys watching, liking, subscribing, but I'd really like to get some conversation going, so please leave a comment. Let me know what you think of this game, of this video, what other games I should talk about, anything, how your day's going. Leave a comment, okay? Okay. Now the game opens up as your standard horror fare. Marianne can see dead spirits and helps them find their way to the afterlife. She's called to an old resort that had to be shut down because everyone got murdered by a man promising to reveal the source of her strange powers. And of course, spooks ensue. As per usual, all is not as it seems, as there's creepy monsters. And they've somehow made their way into the real world too, occasionally. Ultimately, the story is solving the mystery of the resort, the origin of Marianne's power, who this mysterious Thomas who called her is, and mostly it all works. I enjoyed the story. I thought it did a good job of staying unclear nearly until the end. It all starts coming together pretty nicely in the final act, but also gives you enough breadcrumbs that you feel like you piece it together just before the game reveals it all. Personally, that's something I enjoy. I like feeling like I figured it out. The actual ending of the story, and I mean the last 20 to 50 seconds of the game, did feel a little lackluster to me. Honestly, enough so that it almost soured my entire opinion of the game. However, with games and stories like these, it really is more about the journey than the destination, so I will resist tanking the rating here and give the story a 4 out of 5. The Medium leans heavily on the mechanics of classic horror games, with restrictive fixed camera angles, somewhat clunky movement controls, and no real gameplay to speak of other than rudimentary puzzle solving. There is no combat in this game, and outside of a couple semi-scripted, short stealth sections, no additional mechanics. Marianne can, however, freely move between the physical and spiritual realms. Puzzles usually require you to step between the two. For example, sometimes a physically blocked path will be traversable in the spirit world. Of course, you can only separate your soul from your body for a fixed amount of time, and that's, I guess, supposed to make it tense or challenging, but I never really felt like it had too much of an impact on the difficulty of the puzzles. Really, no puzzle felt very difficult, and the two worlds mechanic never really felt like much more than a gimmick. I feel like I'm not a game designer, so I don't have any answers here, but I feel like it could have been much more fully realized than it was in the game. The game is extremely linear, which is fine. This is a narratively driven experience. But of course, to pad out that runtime, there is a number of collectibles that you can go looking for. Now, normally, this is something that I do not enjoy in linear story-driven games. However, given the context of the game, the story being the fact that Marianne is trying to understand what happened in this place and piece it together, I thought it actually fit pretty well. I really didn't mind the collectible hunting, and happily participated in it. I think the collectibles flesh out the world as well as the characters, and they add to the mystery of events. Now, there's nothing inherently bad or wrong about the gameplay, it's just that it's not notable. I would say it's a perfect medium, as all things should be, and give the gameplay a 3 out of 5. Now, I mentioned it at the open, and talking about presentation, this is a next-gen game. Microsoft touted it as one of the headliners for the new Xbox. So I did come in with high expectations on presentation and was mostly impressed. There are a lot of lighting and smoke effects going on, especially when you get into that spirit world, and I thought it all looked real solid. I think the overall aesthetic, too, is great with the various characters, monsters, locations. All those designs work real well. The sound design is also top-notch, which is a necessity for a horror game. Really props to Troy Baker. He voices the main monster in the game, and it is creepy. He did a great job adding a lot to the atmosphere of the game. But the other side of that coin, though, comes with the fact that these new consoles are essentially just hardware updates. And I actually played this game on the PC. So the whole idea of next-gen barely feels legitimate these days. The consoles really just play games at PC quality now, but there haven't been any insane leaps in technology. Games that run on the new Xbox run on the old Xbox, just with lower settings. So the consoles have just become glorified PCs, as far as I'm concerned. And really, for the last few years, games have been looking photorealistic and amazing. Look at The Witcher 3, Horizon Zero Dawn, The Last of Us 2, whatever other big-name, high-quality AAA visual game you want to talk about. And honestly, when I think about the medium, especially considering how small each of the individual environments were, that they were rendering fixed rooms, there was not a ton of physics objects or characters to run, I was honestly really shocked at how poorly it ran on my PC. Sure, it's rendering 2 versions of each area at once, but they're small. So I really struggled to see why my computer was struggling to keep this game at a stable 60 frames per second. So there are some performance issues, depending on your PC setup, you may run into, but the actual presentation, the graphics, the sound, those are all great, and so I still will give the presentation a rating of a 4 out of 5. To me, the medium is a shining example of the perfect Games Pass game. It's about 8 hours long, and has little to no replay value since it's so story-driven and contains no diverging paths. You are not in control of the narrative here. It is enjoyable to play through, it's just hard to justify buying a game for such a short experience. And that's why I love Games Pass. It lets me try out and play through games that I would never otherwise buy. And if I did buy them, it would be months after they came out when they went on a big sale discount. But here I got to play it the day it came out. For what it is and what it sets out to do, the medium accomplishes its goals. However, it's not revolutionizing the genre. Honestly, if anything, it takes too much inspiration from its predecessors and just feels like a modern version of those older games. The idea of the 2 worlds that you can travel between is cool, admittedly, but I don't think it's utilized well enough to emerge or set this game apart as a trendsetter or as the hot new thing or anything like that. Altogether, I think the medium is a 3.5 out of 5. And for value, get it on Game Pass. If you have Game Pass, play this game. If you don't, wait for a deep sale. It's a short game. It's nothing crazy. You're just playing it to experience the story, and that's it. So don't overspend on this game. So what do you think? Do you like the medium? Is it your favorite horror game? Is it a true next-gen game, or does Bugsnax still hold the title for 10 out of 10 next-generation masterpiece? Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what other games you want to talk about. And be sure to check out the live streams. We're on Twitch. We may be switching to YouTube for that. Either way, the links are in the description. Come watch me play these games before I review them. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys with the next video.